Hi, Derald Slack with Honest Public Adjusting, answering your questions about insurance claims in the state of Florida. Today's question is, what is required for a public adjuster contract in Cape Coral, Florida? That is a good question. Thank you very much for that question. So, as I said in one of my previous videos, Florida is one of the more heavily regulated states when it comes to public adjusters and public adjuster contracts. Consequently, there's a lot of things that have to be in our contracts. Now, this is not legal advice. You should always seek the advice of an attorney and make sure they look, either draft your contract or look over it, make sure it's copacetic. This is not legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I'm not licensed to practice law in Florida or any other state. So find someone who is. But based on what I've seen and the rules I've read online, I can give you a pretty good, basic outline of it. First of all, they must be in 12-point type font. So even the size of the lettering is regulated. There is literally no fine print allowed. You have to have it in 12-point font from beginning to end minimum. And there are some sections we'll go over that actually have to be bigger. Second, you have to have public adjuster contract right at the top. You cannot disguise what it is. This is a public adjuster contract, right on the nose. We're a public adjuster. You're signing our contract. Finally, there's a DFS fraud alert that has to be on there. And this is one of the things that has to be bigger, has to be 18-point font, just letting the insured know and really driving home the fact that attempting, defrauding or attempting to defraud an insurance company is a felony in the state of Florida. We chose the name Honest for a reason. We do things the right way here. We don't really have to worry about that. That is not the case with everyone in the industry, unfortunately. So they want to make sure everybody's aware of the risk you're taking when you sign with the unscrupulous public adjusters. What type of claim is it? Another video I went into emergency, non-emergency, and supplemental claims. It has to state on there what it is. The reason for that is if it's an emergency claim, then we're capped at 10%. You can't have it be an emergency claim and 20%. They want to make sure that we're charging the fair and legal amount. So it has to state on the contract exactly what this is about. You have to have the public adjuster's full name who solicited the contract. So if there's a PA firm owned by one public adjuster and there's another public adjuster signing the form, soliciting the claim, that public adjuster soliciting the claim must sign the contract and have their information on the contract. Their name, their license number, and then the name of the firm they're working for, if applicable. Now, anytime you sign a contract, you want to have as much information on there for the insured as possible. Name, address, phone number, email address, policy number if it's available, claim number if it's available, anything you can do to help the insurer, to help the carrier identify which claim this contract applies to. We get in this mindset, we're like, well, of course we're talking about this claim. Well, these adjusters have dozens of claims that they're working. Anything you can do to make it easier for them to assign it to the right one, we tend to try to do that. Aside from what must be contained within the contract, there are a few things that have to be done with the contract. First and foremost, every single page that doesn't require a signature must be initialed so they can confirm that they did see that page, they did read it, we didn't add it in later. They have to initial it. And then once the contract is executed by the insured, by the policyholder, and by the public adjuster, we give them that copy right there on the spot. They are entitled to an unaltered, executed copy of the contract. What we generally do is if I'm doing a paper contract in person, I'll have initial, sign it, I'll sign it, and then I scan it right there on my phone, leave the copy with them. So I am issuing them that copy of the contract every time on the spot. The other thing we do is we do use an online signing service. And so they are emailed a copy of that contract right away. That handles our compliance with that law. And we don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's pretty much it. Of course, this is not an all-inclusive list. There are quite a few things that go on there. So there are other items that need to be in the contract. One of the things that we do is we have a claims process disclosure form that must be given to the insured. These are disclosures that you have to make to the insured, and you're just giving them a form to sign confirming that you did make the disclosures. Another video, I really go into these disclosures, the biggest one being the 3 different types of adjusters: a company adjuster, independent adjuster, and public adjuster. So, there's a whole other video on that. I'm not going to go into those differences, but you have to explain those to the insured so they know what they're doing. Also, that the insured is not required to hire a public adjuster. They're allowed to do this themselves. And the other one, they're allowed to speak with the insurance company. We're not attorneys. We don't tell them, don't talk to your insurance company. That would be a violation of law. And finally, is the that you can cancel a public adjusting contract. Again, going back to the difference between the emergency and non-emergency claims, a non-emergency public adjusting contract can still be canceled within 10 days without cause. And then the second one is the emergency contracts can be canceled within 30 days of the date of loss. So once that 30 days after the event has happened, then we default back to that 10 days. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. There is some more stuff. I definitely want to reiterate that I am not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Please consult with an attorney before sending that contract out. Thank you guys very much. Derald Slack with Honest Public Adjusting.